What's up, guys? Welcome back. A little pissed off thinking about the soyification of media and how Adult Swim is almost exclusively responsible for that. You know, all that edgy, atheist Rick and Morty stuff is actually multiple steps into the process of making everybody a pussy who watches the slot designated for people watching TV after a certain time on any channel. And I really miss, out of all of them, Squidbillies, because Squidbillies was insanely cathartic for me, and it's also one of the only things that I watched when I was up in North Dakota and I had 2G internet, and it took me an hour to stream a 15-minute video. And just because Unknown Hinson, the voice of Early Kyler, decided to go off and criticize BLM, which is all the space in the world for criticism, he got fired, and the entire show got scrapped. It's BS, man. They even had an episode where they had a meeting and they called themselves the Fine Ol' Solution, and that didn't get them canceled. But oh, you dare criticize the current thing, and you're an enemy of the state. It's absurd. It's absurd. Speaking of absurdity and insanity and evil, the quack doctor, who's not actually a doctor, John Money of New Zealand, is one of the reasons why science is in such a terrible state. He passed off a tremendous amount of false information, and despite the fact that it was implicated in thousands of sexual reassignment surgeries for infants that were standard procedure from him, and even transgender rights groups have criticized this for its incredible inaccuracy, it still was pushed as the modern thing, as the good thing, as the scientific thing. Don't argue with the science is locked in, the science is what it is. That's never how science has been throughout history. And frankly, the era of common era dialogue, when nobody throughout history has ever used common era, it's BC AD, not BCE or CE. It's not common era. That's absolute crap, meant to pad the egos of the same people, destroying our scientific process. When I was on kiwi farms, especially in the later period, I noticed something. And I'm not going to exclusively target kiwi farms in the future. I'm going to broaden it out because I see a lot of these things intersecting on the entire internet, and kiwi farms isn't a awful, horrible behavioral sink. You know, it's not completely out of control like Soy Jack Party. It's not, genuinely taken over by the feds like 4chan. Even though there are feds and there are pedophiles and there are insanity in kiwi farms, there's still problems all over the internet that manifest everywhere. So that's exactly what I want to genuinely target. And what I've noticed since October 7th is a more coming clean, a more blatantness of how close modern neo-Nazi groups are to Israel. And you can literally see this because people have done a lot of research since the Gazan genocide on the Netanyahu family, and Yair Netanyahu, living down in Miami, has been frequently sided with neo-Nazi leaders and neo-Nazis. And there are neo-Nazis that take sabbaticals to Israel, and they're all hunky-dory, because Mossad function to hunt down neo-Nazi groups. And they probably hunted down groups that weren't Nazis, and they likely converted some Nazi groups because it's just like planned obsolescence. Why would you get rid of the problem when you're being paid and you have, carte blanche in the international stage to do whatever you want as long as there's one Nazi group? Why wouldn't you, Mossad, fund neo-Nazi groups? And that's exactly what I saw. And it's no coincidence that there are tons of neo-Nazis next to tons of Zionists, and they don't argue with each other. They only seek to destroy American culture, to destroy Europe even farther, to destroy the world, to kill everybody that doesn't agree with them. That's exactly what they want to do. You want to talk about white genocide? What about what the Confederates did? What about what the Nazis did? Huh? What about that? You know, say what you want about the British. I'm Irish. I'm allowed to criticize them. They're not nearly as bad as the Confederates or the Nazis, who were taken over by insane theosophical monsters masquerading as intellectual leaders. And this is exactly where you get the intelligence communities and shit like this. So, calm it down a little bit. Fuentes' job is to make us look bad. If you're still following Fuentes, everybody has been laughing at you for a while. The evidence is all there. Get away from it. If you're a Fuentes fan, Sam Hyde's your Huckleberry, all right? He's the guy. He's actually funny, he's intelligent, he's got good wisdom, and he's a genuine leader. And he's not leading you off a cliff. He genuinely wants people to be successful and happy. So there's your Huckleberry, you know? I'm not telling you what to do, but this is good advice from the heart. Take it. Somebody answer what the heck an assault rifle is? AR stands for Armalite rifle. It's a rifle created by the Irish. What the hell is an assault rifle? Assault is literally like yelling at somebody. You know? Is it a rifle that yells at people? Does it go bang and scare people, and that's why they call it an assault rifle and not an aggravated battery rifle? I don't understand it. I don't understand the whole Gretchen Whitmer sitting in my truck and protesting crap. I don't understand the response to it, and I don't understand the reason for it, other than the fact that you can read in and see that they were being influenced by feds, like Fed Fuentes, in order to march into a place where nothing is going to be accomplished. It's very emasculated. You know, if you don't want to be emasculated, follow people like Sam Hyde. You know, simple as. So, let's talk about the Yamnaya culture again. The Yamnaya culture turned into the catacomb culture. Isn't that cool? They're the first ones to do the catacombs. Catacombers, you could call them. And a cathedral is what's built atop a catacomb, which is pretty catacool. You know, back to Kiwi Farms. I got no hate for a particular member that I was actually, you know, going hard against there on my alt. Devious Dave, Tomato Man. The gangster roleplay was a little gay, my man, but I really do wish you well. I apologize for talking, you know, bad about your girlfriend. I was literally just trying to push you a little bit in the right direction. Like, I genuinely, seriously, I wish you well. And I hope that you know, have a good relationship, and that you raise a big family, and that you're happy. I genuinely hope that. And Muttley, I miss a lot. And apparently, we would talk for hours, and we would argue viciously, and then we would be close friends the next day. It was great. That's the real fight and then have a beer sort of attitude. And he lived over in Los Angeles, and he doxed himself a little bit, but he ended up being very cool. However, he's very, very aggressive, and I heard recently in a chat room that, in, you know, YouTube chat room, that he got banned from Kiwi Farms for criticizing one of Null's moderators. That's a little funny, the thin-skinnedness. But hey, you know, they don't get paid. The moderators and the admins don't get paid, so, you know. What was her name? Trombonista. She is a very interesting person. I wonder sometimes how involved she was in various little in-site dramas and on-site dramas, and how much that is like her actual pay for the immense amount of genuinely difficult work that she does. And she's beloved by the forum, and, you know, I liked her a lot, and I really liked her little armadillo mascot there. John, I think it was his name from an anime. That was very, very cute. John posting. I enjoyed John posting there before I got banned. Oh, and Null banned me for threatening to sue him. Oh, yeah. Just because you legally broke the law. Just because you, as somebody who has a platform, and against me, who is like a private citizen, who's not involved in anything of public capacity that would warrant such criticism, lied about me, lied about my father, slandered both of us on your podcast to tens of thousands of people. Yeah, I'm not allowed to call that out without getting banned on Kiwi Farms. And that is foul. That's absolutely foul. But it is what it is. Oh, America produces crackheads with infinite crack. And that little line, chew on that a bit, because that explains a lot. Ukraine, back in the day, back under the Soviet rule, was actually depopulated to Manchuria. It's called Green Ukraine. And then the breadbasket of Eastern Europe was repopulated by 3 brothers from Moscow. Literally nobody else. That's a joke, of course, but the point is, what you're witnessing today in Ukraine is the consequence, the long-term consequence of the Soviets. And you know, I've mentioned that Zionists and neo-Nazis are 2 heads of the same beast. Excuse me, Zionists and Masons, because the Masons precede the neo-Nazis, whereas the neo-Nazis was just one little flash in the Nazis themselves was one little flash in the pan of the Masonic intention of, you know, intellectual manipulation. So Masons is one head, Zionists is another, and the third head is definitely Marxists. That's definitely the third head of the modern Cerberus. So you can quote me on that. You know, a general scientific delirium is very commonplace, and I went into that earlier on this little show. And, you know, it's exactly why you see, oh, you have to take this, it's good for you, if you don't take it, you're killing people, but we won't let you know what's in it. We're legally allowed to change it change what's in it without telling you at any time. So that level of opacity in the medical system is exactly the reason why I wanted a public medical system. Now, a little bit older, I can see more problems than I could see when I was younger, but I would still push for a public medical system, personally. That's just not the direction we're heading, so, you know, put my finger up. Nope. Looks like we're all going to have to eat our vitamins and exercise like Dr. Oz says. And you know what? Last time I got my blood work, everything was perfect except for my albumin was a little bit high, which is actually better than it being low. And literally every single metric was perfect. And how I did that was getting an app called Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen and following that and studying Dr. Greger and studying proper nutrition and health. That is how I got every single level of my blood work perfect, except for albumin, which was a little high. And my body has been through a lot, let me tell you. And one thing I like to do a lot is I like to read Arrowwood stories. It helps me, because I'm very empathetic, I can project my consciousness into other people after I practice from a young age. Very easily. I'm an empath. I'm a star child. I'm an indigo seed. Stardust world. No. But I read a trip report from a Benadryl, the Benadryl area of the Arrowwood website, and what I saw was many different trips, but a particular trip report that was from like the perspective of a demon. Like, remember the Screw Tape letters, which is from a perspective of a demon to one of his cohorts. This one was genuinely terrifying. It was more terrifying than any horror that I could ever particularly imagine. And it went from the perspective of a demon occupying the body of a guy that kept on overdosing on Benadryl over and over again. And it was just like, you know, and it quote a particular part that stayed with me, "We'll pull our gifts back and he will suffer in darkness. We will leave him and he will be so scared." And it went on like this for a while, and it sent the coldest chill down my spine. Especially now that I realize that, you know, things like demon possession are terms that have been created. Just as all words and language has been created and written language has been created. These are terms that have been created and applied to explain how things that aren't you and your better nature and your inner child take over you. I said a lot of people will be viewing their life flashing before their eyes as if demons were pulling their inner child in a cage down to hell. And that'll be a horrific regret, and then there'll be wailing and gnashing of teeth. And, you know, that doesn't even come close to how actually terrifying that'll be. So I wanted to end off this little episode talking about sola scriptura. There are a large portion of the Old Testament that are completely wrong. There are portions of the New Testament that have flaws. And so the Bible isn't the fullness of the faith, nor is the Vatican, nor are the patriarchs of Mount Athos. You really got to be careful with all of that. Sola Scriptura is when people take the Bible and they read it super literally and they apply it super literally and they bash the particular King James translation of the Bible onto people repeatedly. And that has been shown to create a vast array of very, very bad effects on the people that do it and the people that are raised in that, and how they reject the faith and all faiths in general and turn into militant atheists, which are even worse. That is basically taking a very, very narrow little pamphlet written on plastic and then smacking people repeatedly with it, you know? So, that's it. That's it for today, you know? I gotta get back to exercising.